Okay, we're back on. Hi, good morning. Well, no, it's not morning. Good afternoon. Hello. Hi, for me. How are you? I hope you're good. Whew. Well, I don't know. It's been a full year. And I'm excited. And then you can tell I'm excited. It's a bit weird for me to be online on my page. Oh, that's great. Fum, I miss you. Can't wait to see you in real life. Let me invite Ololade's here. Okay, actually, before I invite her on, so let me just give a brief intro to this segment. Turn this down. Okay, so the concept behind Vision to Author was, I've had this idea for a while. I wanted to see how I could create like an environment where we could get more female writers. Hi, Alamide. I wanted to see how we could create an environment where we can encourage more female authors to get published. We have a lot of talented writers out there, and it's great that we celebrate the Chimamandas and the other big names, but it would be really awesome to get more indigenous people online. Can everybody hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. Anyway, so to get more indigenous writers that are women and everything. So it was a great idea. I think I had it like 2 years ago, but I was like, the only issue is if I'm going to have something like this, I guess I should be a published author. So yes, I'm celebrating the fact that I've achieved that milestone, and then it's opened up a door to start encouraging more women to become published. So my first guest is my sister. Her name's Ololade. I can't wait to get her on. I've pretty much been a part of her process. 1 second. So Ololade, I'm saying, Sunny, I've been a part of her process from the moment she told me she wanted to write, and now her book is out there in the world. And I feel like that was like my first baby. Hi, Ololade.
Hi. Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, I can. I look very
Okay.
beautiful, can girl.
Thank you.
Okay, so I was
Okay.
telling everyone just about the idea behind from the vision, from going from an author or from vision to becoming a published author. And I thought, why not start this session with you? Because I remember when we sat down together, like, was this last year? And you were like, oh, you really want to take your book and get it out there? And I was like, yes, you can. So seeing Brimstone and Rainbows out there is just, I really inspired. So, and I can't wait for people to get to know you and just get to know your heart. You are an amazing woman. So without further ado, I wanted us to kind of start off with like an icebreaker. But just to start, can you just tell us about yourself, like in 2 sentences? Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Seyi. So nice being here with you, and you looking so beautiful yourself.
Oh, thank you.
It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Okay, so who am I? Ololade is a multi-passionate woman. I think that's the best way to describe me. I'm a woman of many passions,
Yeah.
You know me. I love gardening, I love writing, I love baking, I love crafting. I like to try my
Okay. Can,
Yes,
I
I
just
can
want
hear
to be sure. Can you hear me?
you. Can you hear me clearly as well?
Okay, it went out on my end, but I just want to be sure that hopefully everybody else can hear you. So yes. So continue.
Okay, I just finished.
Okay, so that's your 2 sentences, yeah? Okay, no problem. So quick one. Let's play the game before we start. So, would you rather tea or coffee?
Huh.
Just pick.
See.
Okay. What's the code? Oh no, it's breaking. I can't
No,
hear.
no. I'm going to answer that again. So, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. No.
I like my
Okay, can everyone
coffee.
else still hear me? I want to be sure if it's if I'm not sure. I want to be sure if it's not my internet that's causing the problem. So if you can hear me, just wave or drop
Maybe just make a
emoji.
comment or something.
Yeah, so if you can drop a comment so we're sure.
Mm.
Anyway, I can hear you better now, Sha, so hopefully they can. Okay, so Lola, no explanation. Just pick tea or coffee, hot or cold. You know, just pick it. Pick one option.
Okay. See,
Okay,
cold.
they can hear. So cold, movie or book?
Yeah, book, definitely book.
Morning or night?
Night. I'm a night
Yeah,
person.
I feel like you're a night person. So a
I
shower
am.
or taking a bath. So like
Bath,
soaking in a hot like a tub or a shower. So bath, okay.
tub,
Rice or eba?
tub. Eh,
Do you
don't even like any rice. Not like I like it either, but yeah, rice.
Oh my god. Okay, so and the last one is paperback or ebook.
Oh, paperback.
Yeah, me
Nothing like
too.
smelling the book. You
Yeah,
know?
I mean, I wish people could know how freaky it is that you are so much like me. Like whenever I have an idea and I'm like, oh hi Lord, I have this idea. She's like, oh see, I just wrote this down yesterday, and I'm like, oh my god, can I be in another? Like, can my soul literally be in another person's body? Anyway, so let's get started. So, what inspired you to start writing? So let's just start on your writing
What is
journey.
what?
What inspired you to start writing?
Okay, this particular book or writing generally?
No, just in general. Don't worry, we'll get to this particular book.
Okay, so I've always been an avid reader. Like, if there's such a thing as like being addicted to reading, uh, I think there was a time I would consider myself as that. So, funny story. My first big novel was Roots,
Okay.
which I read at the age of when I was 8 years old. That book has like 1,000 pages.
Wow.
So I would read, all this famous five, Enid Blyton, Jane Austen, or what was that, Jane Eyre, and all of those kind of books and everything. But that route was quite a challenge, and I remember that I started reading from like a very young age, and my mom really encouraged that. She'll buy me books,
Wait,
and
is
so even
Ruth
when I
the
have like
author
chores,
of Ruth, or is that me? Because my mind just went to Ruth in the Bible, but maybe somebody else.
Roots, no, R double O T,
Oh, okay.
the Kintakunte story,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, and for a child, come on, that was quite
That's it.
like impressive. I was 8. I was also 8 years old when I read the Bible through the first time, and I read it with my mom. So I think she kind of like encouraged that. So I'll read all of the stories, and I will just want to write my own stories too. I'll write I remember that I used to write little stories and all of that. So I think reading really helped my imagination and my love for, instead of that desire in me to write, I wanted to write books that you will want to say, oh, a book is my best book ever, that kind of thing. I wanted to write kind of books that I was reading. Do you understand? So I guess, yeah, I started from there.
Okay, and basically from reading these great novels and stories, it inspired you to want to become a writer. So did you actively say after, I don't know, after that experience, like I want to be a writer and that's all I want to ever do in my life? Like what was that process for you going from that avid reader to becoming someone that desired to have a books everywhere, really.
Hi, Fola. I see you. Okay, so yeah, like I said, reading definitely stirred up that what's it called in me, that desire to also write the kind of books that would be people's like, oh, best book.
Yeah.
Like a book is like my best book ever, like my favorite book. Yeah, so I knew that I was going to write. I used to love scribbling. I used to keep journals. I used to write poems, like short poems and all of that. Yeah, so I always knew like I was going to write. It's like, there was just no doubt about that in my mind that I was going to write.
Okay, so yes,
That was
so
going to be
I
published.
know where I'm going to with this. So yes, there was the
Okay.
desire from, from 8. You could have written your first novel at, I don't know, 10 or
Mm.
11. So when was that aha moment for you that you knew that, okay, so your current book is called Brimstone and Rainbows, Memoirs of a Child Bride. What was the aha moment that you felt that this is the book or the story that I want to tell and I'm ready? Because, there's that feeling of, okay, we have that dream, but then it's still a dream. It's like a one day, but what was that moment for you that made you feel like, okay, I can actually do this?
Okay, so from you know, from that desire that I always had to, all right, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I think when I was 18, I actually did almost complete my first manuscript,
Okay.
Like something I felt like, yes, I'm going to publish this. And it was called Cracks. And well, something unfortunate happened and I lost that manuscript. And then, we really didn't have I really didn't have access to like laptop and unlike we do now, you can write on your phone, write on your tablet or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote in this 80 leaves higher education notebooks we used to use in secondary school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So so I had my story there and I lost that. Long story, but I'm not going into that. It was really very painful. So I don't know, I was just too crushed to start, that process all over again. But the story had always been there. And, so let me fast forward to 2018 when I actually started writing Brimstones and Rainbows. I don't know, I just knew that I could not, I think you just know. I just knew that I could not wait any moment. I had a story that wanted to be written. I had a character that wanted to come to life so desperately that I guess she just kept on nurturing me and nurturing me, and she kept me awake at night. And I would just wake up and turn in my bed. I'm like, okay, you know what? The timing just felt right. I knew it was just the time for me to do it.
Okay, so with this story that you're saying, because some people might not be aware of the book, can you just give us like a brief summary of this book? Yeah, so what is it about? And why does that character speak to you so much?
Okay, so here's the book.
Yay!
It's called Brimstones. Yeah, Brimstones and Rainbows. And would you want to read the synopsis?
What?
Or do you just want me to talk about it? Would you like to read the synopsis?
You can. I mean, the floor is yours. Whatever is comfortable for you.
Okay. Basically, Brimstones and Rainbows, Memoirs of a Child Bride. It's about an orphan who, she had this happy family, blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, she became an orphan and had to live with her grandmother, and she was forced into um, marriage, based on forced into child marriage at the age of 12 to a 40-year-old man. And yeah, that came with all of these troubles and everything. And then she got pregnant and she had some childbirth complications, obstetric fistula,
Mm-hmm.
which basically is incontinence, and she had double fistula, meaning she had problems with her bladder and with her, she was leaking both urine and fistula. Let me just put it that way.
Okay, so this is a condition that develops when
Okay,
children have, or when young children are engaged in sexual activity, so it could damage their internal organs, right?
exactly, because they are still like underdeveloped.
Yeah.
They're maybe, yeah. So obstetric fistula as a result of that.
Okay.
I think I'm freezing up. Can you hear me?
No, it's fine.
I feel like my
it
screen
might
is
freeze a bit, but it
freezing up.
continues. So just keep. I'll let you know if I can.
Okay. Okay. All right. It's kind of distracting.
Internet.
I know, right?
Okay.
Okay. So, oh, are we still talking about the book?
Yeah, you were explaining a bit about, the story, and because I asked you what inspired this particular story, and what is, I guess I'll say, what's your attachment to the main character, because you mentioned that you basically, it was like she was harassing you to be written. So yeah.
She did harass me. Okay, so let's go back to what inspired the story. So when I was to write my bachelor's dissertation, I wanted to write about the role of the mass media in curtailing sexual gender-based violence, sexual violence and domestic violence and all these kind of things. So eventually I landed on female genital mutilation, which was what I wrote on eventually. But during that process, I found out, about a whole lot of things, child marriage. That was when that was the first time I came across obstetric fistula. Like, there's such a thing as obstetric fistula, really. There are girls living with this condition. So I learned a lot during that process and all of that. So I always kind of like add that story at the back of my mind, like I was going to write about this. I enjoyed my project. It was on female genital mutilation, and that was inspired by something else. I just wanted to know what the media was doing about it and how we can help curtail it and all. But I didn't just want it to end like that. I wanted to bring some other subjects, to light. And because of that curiosity in the subject, I didn't just let it die there. Along the line, sometime later, I actually met an obstetric fistula patient, and it was just really sad, So I really wanted to write about it because I just didn't feel like it was giving a lot of or enough attention, or people really knew that there was such a thing and all. So I said, researching more, and well, there we are.
And that was what led to that, because it's so true.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about how child marriage is bad. I mean, I'll take the ethics of things. You hear that in the newspaper, but then we don't really hear about the actual effects that it has to young girls that are facing this problem. And it's a very heavy topic. I don't even know how you were able to combine everything into one book, because one of the things I would say is you made for people that would read it, you made it very easy to understand, and not only see from the physical effects of the person going through that, but also the psychological effects as well. So just back to your story and just the writing process. How was that for you? Okay, you have this story. You want to tell it. You've had the experience of meeting someone that is dealing with this particular condition. How did you what determined the type of book? Because you could have just written like a non-fiction book that explains it. Why did you decide that going the direction of a fictional story was the best way to raise awareness on this topic?
Okay, so during the course of my research as well, apart from meeting a patient or someone that was suffering from the condition as well, I also watched a lot of documentaries. So these stories they were not just stories, they felt really real to me. And I mean, I'm not a doctor, or I'm not in the medical line or medical field, so I wouldn't really feel like it was in my place to write a book if it was just non-fiction about that and all of that. I really wouldn't be an authority. Yeah. So I wanted to pass across that message in a way that was relatable, just the same way I could relate with it, because these were real stories, real documentaries about real girls, going through this condition, being forced into child marriage and having to live with all of the consequences and, and all of that. So from the moment that I decided that, oh, this was what I was going to do with the story, I started to plan,
Okay.
you know. Mhm.
So I was going to say, can you just walk us through, okay, so you have the idea, this is the concept I want to work on, um, which is still a long way from getting to the final product of a manuscript. How did you go? I mean, I know it's a long thing, but in the shortest explanation possible, how did you go from that concept, from, yeah, the concept of this is what I want to write about, to the end product of the manuscript?
Okay, so I'm a planner. So the first thing I did was that I came up with a plan. I came up with a writing plan.
Okay.
And yeah, so I started plotting my story. I started, structuring what's going to go into what part and what's going to follow after this and all of that. So I had the story and I started to actually write it down,
Okay.
and the more I worked on structuring the story itself, the stronger mental image of it that I had, and I knew I had like this clarity of purpose about what I wanted to do with the story itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to do my research because now I have the story written down or structured, not written down, but I had what you would call maybe like a storyboard
Okay.
of
Yeah.
sorts. Do you understand? Yeah, like then I started to research what do I need for this part of the story, what information do I need to. So if there's anything I'm even going to put out there is that know your subject very well. You need to you have to know what you're writing about. You have to do your homework. There's no way about it otherwise, because I don't know, have you ever read a book that it comes across you like, what's this person even talking about? Do you understand?
Yeah.
You have to, yeah, to avoid that, you need to do your homework, do it very well. So don't write a book that, oh, somebody in the medical line will now pick up tomorrow. Now, if you're writing about like in this situation now, obstetric fistula, then one doctor will now pick it up tomorrow and challenge it and say, no, 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 no. If you need to talk to people, speak with people, do all of that. So I did everything that I thought that, I needed to do. I spoke with people people like victims. I spoke to people in the medical, what's it called, field. I did my research, and everything, structured my story. Then I had a writing plan itself. I had like a
So what was in your
daily
plan? If
writing.
you can just, yeah, what was in your plan? Because so far you've spoken about the plan. You also mentioned storyboard, kind of like I guess the best way to call it is like a vision board where you put the different.
Like a
Yeah.
vision board. And for me, I wish I even had it. I have it here. So for me, let me just talk a little about that. The vision board itself, the storyboard. you know, yeah. So I like, okay, Ruby was just giving an example now. Ruby's a 7-year-old girl, living happily with her parents. Next, then she lost her parents. This is not developing the story. This is just developing the plot itself.
Yeah.
Then she lost her parents. What happened? Then she was forced into child marriage. She had to live with her grandmother. Oh, and then she got married to her husband, is 40-year-old. And then, oh, she had this condition. And then she had to leave town. So it was really short, just like one liners each that kind of like gave me a roadmap. That's kind of what it does for you. The storyboard gives you like a roadmap to how you're. Then it's after that you now start developing. That I started developing the story. I'm sharing my experience now. That you now start developing. Then I had to develop this character development as well. I had to develop a character. Who really is Ruby? How does she react to things? If you read the book, you would notice that when she's nervous, she's always like tweaking her fingers. Yeah. There's certain things that she does. Yeah, so you work on the plot, the setting, the character development, the setting. Let me talk a little bit about the setting as well. You want to consider things like, let me say this. Who am I writing for? Know your audience, because your language has to speak to your audience. Now, the setting of the story itself is oh, when did this happen? You know, is he pre-independence, or, you know, so the timing, where did this happen? In the rural area or in the metropolis? What were they wearing, you know, where this happened? How do they dress? You know, what language, what slangs do they speak? Well, you know, those kind of things are like the little things that you consider that goes into developing your plot and developing the character and developing your, you know, plot setting generally.
So how long did this, okay, because you said before you started writing, and because I want to even put a bit of perspective in terms of time. So was 2018 when you said, okay, I'm going to write this book? Or when exactly was the time you started this story? Because why I'm asking that is I want to figure out how long it took you from, okay, this is a story I have to write, this is my plan for it, and then how long did it take you to kind of map out the direction going from planning to actually writing?
So the whole process took me 2 years. From 2018, I started in 2018. Was in 2018 that, I had a name for who my protagonist was. Do you understand? I knew what the story was. It was in 2018 that I started developing the story, and then I now started to do like an in-depth research. And for me, the research took quite a while. It took some months, because like I said, and I know, you know, people have different processes, different things that work for them. For me, planner, writing for me was quite easy, and here's why: because I'd done my homework. You know, I knew by the time I started writing out like each of those plots or each of those different parts of the story, I knew what I was going to do with it already, because I'd already planned it out. I'd already mapped it out, basically. So for me, I would say that the research, the structuring of the story and all of that really took a while for me. And between 2018 and 2019, in word count, I think I'd only done like 20,000 words. Wow. 21,000 words around 2018 and 2019. And then in 2019, I'm like, you know what, because, you know, I also had 9 to 5.
That was what I was going to say. How did you actually balance doing that with your 9 to 5? I mean, although I probably shouldn't talk because I do that a lot, but it's not about me, it's about you. How did you do it?
I guess whatever you just set your heart to do that you really want to do, you will do it. I'm such a person that if an idea is burning me up, there's something I really want to do, I will not even be able to sleep. And I'm a night person, which works to my advantage. So I go to work, I come back, I chill, do whatever I need to do around the house, and yeah, and everybody's asleep, and then my creative juices just start, you know, coming out. You know, in the night, the ideas come to me. There are times I feel like I'm even done for the day, and I just hit the bed. And then I just have this idea that is just really, really just, you know, tickling my mind, and I just get up and I start writing. So being a night person worked to my own advantage. You have to know what writing time works for. If you're an early bird, you know, you might want to wake up 1 or 2 hours earlier in the morning to get to your writing and all of that. If you have like a 9 to 5. And all, do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so but for me, most of my work I did in the night. So I was saying between 2018 and 2019, yeah, I don't know, maybe like not too much, you know, coupled with my 9 to 5 and every other thing that, you know, was going on in my life, that every other thing that I needed to do, you know. So but in 2019, I decided to be like more serious. I decided to take it a little more seriously. You know, not like it wasn't serious before, but I decided to like take some strict measures, some intentional measures to actually wrapping it up in 2019, because that was my goal. So I had a vision for 2019, like, you know what, I'm going to finish up the story. So what I did was I took advantage of Nanowrimo, and Nanowrimo is, I think it happens November every year, and that's when writers all over the world write, they have a goal of 50,000 words, and you have to write, I think, 1,500 and something words or 600 and something words every day. And, you have different groups that you join, for accountability. So someone is coming on and saying, so I took advantage of that. That kind of also fueled, my writing. So I committed to it in that month of, I think it was November, and I finished up the story.
Okay. So
in
you're saying by
November.
2019, November 2019, you were pretty much done with the first draft of the story.
Exactly. So I was done with the first draft of the story, and that's just where the work starts. To be honest, that's where the work starts. I was done with the first draft, and if I have to look back at my first draft and the final result now, I can tell you that the story is still the same, but they don't even look anything like the same, because after that first draft, I let the story rest. In December 2019, I didn't touch it. Then January 2020, this year, I picked it up again. And I looked at it. I had, like a few new ideas. So I started working on it in February again. In February was when I did my second draft. Mm-hmm. And I did about like a total of 5 drafts, and this is like rewriting and editing. So which is let me just say this quickly as well. When you're writing, the most important thing is for you to get the story out. Just get the story out of you. Just write it down. That's completion over perfection. Don't be like, the story has to be perfect. Don't forget about the editing, language, the polishing, how it looks, your syntaxes, and all those kind of things. No. Just get the story out first. And Nanowrimo, I learned that in Nanowrimo, and they impressed that upon you. Just get the story. Forget about your spellings. Get the story out first, and know that, yay, I have my first draft. I'm done. It gives you the sense of accomplishment and all of that.
Yeah.
We're all bad writers, in quotes. Nobody writes a perfect story at once. The first time it just comes out like that perfect. No, a really good story is really about really good editing, because you're going to polish that thing and polish it over and over again until it shines. So
I love that, actually, because I was part of most of the process, so I know how many times you're like, oh, you're rewriting it and stuff. And I know there's something else I want to ask about the fundamentals of writing, but I'll ask that towards the end. Right now, I'm just going through your journey. So you've gotten the probably 5th manuscript rewritten, and you are at a place where you're probably considering, okay, what's next? Are you going to, and I know you edit as well, so you would have edited your work. So how did you decide to go? Because I know you got you didn't go the direction of self-publishing. You went, it's kind of like vanity publishing, or you published with a known name. So what informed that decision, as opposed to so what made you decide, I'll go that direction instead of going the route of self-publishing?
Hi, Shagun. Okay, so I decided to go with a known publisher for one reason, basically. I wanted to set the tone right for my debut work.
Yeah.
So initially, on my platform, I put out a lot of like poems and stuff, and I'm sure anybody would have thought that, oh, my first published work would probably be my portrait collection and all of that. I think I'd hinted it that I was going to do something like that, which was what I intended to do initially. But the story came, and so I have that ready somewhere, but I just had the strong feeling that, I didn't want that to be my first foot forward, like in the industry. Yeah. So if I didn't just want it to be the first thing I was going to do with my writing career, which is not, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a personal decision. So when I decided that, the book was going to come out first, I said, I'm going to go out with I'm going to work with a known publisher because I just wanted to. It was important for me to set the tone right, you know, as a first time. I wanted it to be serious. I didn't just want it to feel like, sometimes, how it is. Yeah, if you just you're self-published, maybe, you're not really serious like that or something, which is a very wrong notion. It's actually not right, but it was just a personal decision that, what, I wanted to be serious. So I attended this Ake Book Festival last year. I met a lot of authors and aspiring authors, a lot of authors and writers, and a lot of people in the literary community, and I think at some point that also came up, and I just kind of thought that it was the right direction to go with, and if I'm to throw some light on that, if that's fine.
Yeah, of course.
That's fine. So, traditional publishing in itself means that, maybe like it could mean that you have a book deal, or you took your manuscript, your finished manuscript to the publisher, and then you have to write a query and all of that, and you hope to hear back from them. Then when you hear back from them,
can you explain that? Do you mean like a proposal?
What?
You said write a query. Do you mean like a proposal, or what exactly?
Yes. Yeah, so query is like a proposal. You do like a short synopsis about your story, you probably need to give them a few chapters. Maybe usually I think it's like the first 3 chapters of your manuscript. You send it along, a little bit about yourself, like a proposal.
Yeah.
That's another way to put it, but it's called a query. Put that together and send to different publishers. So, if you're lucky, you hear back from them. They ask you to send the full manuscript, and then you set the ball rolling from there, and you don't pay anything. That's what traditional publishing actually is about. You're not supposed to pay, and so
like
that's why sometimes
deal, they pretty much just. So it's almost like you're selling the rights to your book, isn't it?
Exactly. So it has its advantages and disadvantages too. Trust me, they make more money if you are doing that. They usually make more money than the writer, or than the author. Yeah. They do the marketing for you because they are investing into you. Actually, that's how it is. That's another way to look at it. They take your story, they're going to sell it for you, they're taking care of. So it gives you little say over, they can say, we don't want you to, you need to change these few chapters, you need to do this about it, this is what we want the cover to look like, because they're the ones putting the money on the table anyways. Yeah. Do you understand? Yeah. And they know maybe how best they want to sell the story and all of that, and then you go into royalty. In fact, when I was looking for the right publisher to go with, I actually met with a number of them, and I remember one in particular told me that I think the royalty, if I was going by traditional publishing, strictly traditional publishing, was going to be, I think, 8%.
Wow.
I kid you not. On one of this known.
After all the writing.
Yeah.
You only.
Yeah. 8. Stuff like that. Yeah. So I'm like, are you kidding me? So I did my homework. See, that's one thing that I know I did. I spoke with different people. I wanted to weigh my options and all of that. So ideally, that's what traditional publishing is about. But vanity publishing is what a lot of people do now. If you have to pay as the writer or the author, trust me, that's vanity publishing. Yeah, but you're still using publisher, or you're still using a known publishers or your publisher or whatever. But if you're putting your money down, do you understand what I mean? It's vanity. It's called vanity publishing because, and it gives you more say over the finished work, because basically it's your money. It's just like, you're hiring people to do certain things for you. It's just like, my work is done, and then I hire an editor to refine the work for me, and then I hire you to. So you're more involved in that process, and I think it gives you more advantage. Do you understand? And then you really don't even have to be worried about royalty and all of that. Your money is your money, whatever you make out
You've
of it.
paid
But
them for their
sometimes,
brand name, you're good with everything. Yeah.
Exactly. But sometimes they also tell you that, oh, we're just going to do this, the editorial services for you, and you're going to market the book yourself. But some of them actually offer you marketing services as well, but you will have to pay
It'll
for
be
that.
at an additional
Do you understand? So basically, yeah, traditional publishing and vanity publishing.
Okay, so why not? So why didn't? Okay, anyway, you've already explained why you didn't go with self-publishing. But then, if someone does decide, okay, I'd rather just go my own, because I know a couple of people, and I guess it depends on the reach you want to get. So, like with Arisa, for example, with Smart Money Woman, I believe she's self-published, but then she already had a platform, in terms of she had built enough this social value in her name, so that if she released something right now, it would be a top seller. Like a Kim Kardashian too can probably go the direction
Exactly.
herself, but in fact people will probably be hustling for her book, you know, because she has that, you know, capital. But then, I mean, ultimately what we do want is that, I mean, we kind of see more traditional publishing that is a bit fairer to the authors, and then gives you all the benefits. Or even if it's not traditional publishing, even if it's vanity, it's just a little bit more affordable for more people to go that direction. But I think at the end of the day, when it comes to publishing, it's really a matter of your goal. At the end of the day, I mean, if you're able to
Exactly.
market, if you're a marketing guru, you could probably even achieve everything that you wanted to achieve if you went with a traditional publisher publishing by yourself. So yeah, so yes, so let's go back to the book. So what inspired the name? It's a very intriguing name. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
it's a serious topic, but then when you see, oh, okay, actually the brimstones kind of give you like a, but then brimstones and rainbows is like, okay. So what was your what were you hoping to is it invoke in the person? So when someone sees your book, what are you hoping the reaction? In fact, let's just cover everything: the name of the book and also the image of your book, your cover image.
okay. All right. Hi, 361. Okay, so the name. When I set out with this, I had a completely different title for the book. And okay, I know you I know you know that. So and do you want me to say that?
Yeah,
Do you want me to mention that? Okay, so here goes. The book originally was supposed to be called Oshumari. Oshumari means rainbow, and rainbow because I wanted it to reflect the different seasons of life, basically the different colors, different things this character went through, you know, and all of that. So well, yeah, along the line,
I mean, I actually love
know,
the name. I was like, yes, let's go for it. But yeah, my husband's like, please, it sounds good.
yeah,
He was like,
and also because you know because the setting was like in the she started out in Ojiji in a rural village, you know, before she moved to Eko. You know, so it was just I thought it was unique and all of that, but my publishers thought differently. And yeah, after speaking with like a couple of people, and I'm like, okay, let's go with something a little more, you know. and so I started sampling other titles, you know, for the book, but I still really wanted it um to reflect that. So Brimstones and Rainbows. I landed on Brimstones and Rainbows. Brimstones will evoke brimstones, like when you hear brimstones and fire, I guess that's what they say, brimstones and
Yeah.
fire, from Bible. It's yeah. And then rainbow. I want you to wonder how you can balance that. And that's life.
Mm.
It's a reflection of life, the ups and downs of life. And I really wanted it to reflect our struggle, the fact that, our life was not, the protagonist, her life was not rosy. She went through
Okay.
some really tough time, some really, really tough time, for a child, growing into a woman, trying to find herself, a child that started out with dreams, and all of those dreams were just shattered and everything, and she had to be forced into this child marriage that was not a plan for her life and all of that. And I wanted it to reflect our journey, the struggles, our courage, at what points that she changed and how she eventually, found rainbow, so brimstones and rainbows. Yeah.
Okay, I absolutely adore it. So, what about the cover image? So just generally, like I was saying, the name and the cover image. What are the? It's a deep. I mean, I know you've heard it. Like a lot of people have seen the book, and the first reaction is like,
Hi
"Oh
there.
wow, it's so beautiful." So, can you still hear me? It's it's freezing a bit. Day. Can you hear me? You're like in slow-mo on my screen. It's actually interesting. And your hair is like going with the wind. Oh, it's loading. Let me know when you can hear me. Okay, I think it's back.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay, you can hear me now. Like I'm looking at your screen and the way your hair is flying, it's like one of those music videos. I'm like, okay, need a fan.
Really?
Okay, so book cover, go. What can you tell us about it?
So the book cover, apart from wanting to stir up some kind of like emotions with the title of the book itself, Brimstones and Rainbows, um, I wanted it to have a strong imagery
Mhm.
as well, like something you will look at and will just call to you. I wanted the image to call to you. And so, funny story, after the book was done, the manuscript was done, I couldn't what's funny to love. Anyways, I couldn't I couldn't um make up my mind on what I wanted it to look
Look like.
to look like, and 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 I was just stuck. I was just stuck on that for quite a while until I reached out to a certain somebody, you know. Shay. So I was like, we went about it a couple of times, and I'm like, oh no, like, and so basically, Seyi Amao, that is, and Mary will be on my neck. How far are your book now? When is the book coming out? I'm like, I've not even thought about. Like, I've thought about it, but I can't just seem to land on. I just knew that I wanted it to have like a strong imagery that would call out to you, like once you look at the book. And I'm so glad that we achieved that. You and I, we did with at Mary, we achieved that with this book because I've had like amazing feedback about the cover of this book. And then how the whole process,
Yeah.
we started going over, oh, okay, so what do you have in mind? How do we communicate this? Should we just go with a child? Should we go with an adolescent? What's the age of the protagonist? And all of that. And then there was the color of the skin. I wanted her to be black.
Mm.
I wanted her to represent the story because she's basically, maybe this happens all over the world, but she's basically representing the African
Yeah.
girl. And I wanted this book to be strongly African,
Mm-hmm.
from merely just looking at it. And I was particular. Remember that I was so particular about her eyes as well.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted her eyes to call out to you,
It's like, pick
and
me.
I'm so
You see the
happy.
book and the eyes are staring at you that if you don't pick me.
I'm so glad that we
So
achieved that.
why was that
With this.
important? And this is just speaking to other artists as well. Why is your book cover? I mean, people say don't judge a book by its cover, but sometimes the cover does a lot for you. So why? Why was it important?
So yeah, like you said, don't judge a book by its cover. I know it's something people say, but I don't think it's really right. I mean, yes, you can't judge a book by its cover, but the cover is the first thing that you're going to see.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a marketing communications person, so I know the importance of branding.
Yes.
I'm not going to pick a book that looks drab. Like it won't. I mean, you must have maybe sold the book to me, and I know that the content is really good for me to really want to reach out to it. It's not the first thing that will call out to me. If I go to a bookstore, I want to see something, that calls out to you.
Yeah.
Branding, I just believe that branding is just so very important. And I wanted an image that sold my story.
Mm-hmm.
Merely just looking at the book, I wanted the image before you even read the synopsis. Merely just looking at the title and the image, I wanted it to sell the story by itself.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we've been able to achieve that.
Okay, so brilliant. I mean, it does well for the newcomers. Show them our beautiful work, our beautiful work of art. Show them your book so that they can see. So we've
Yeah,
been discussing about her book, Brimstone and Rainbows, Memoirs of a Child Bride.
child bride.
Yeah, so it's so how has it been since? I mean, I think you when was your launch? Your launch was last month. So how has the process been since then?
It's been amazing. It's been more than I thought it would be, honestly, because um the reception has just been really beautiful. Before I launched, we had sold so I started this pre-order, I think I can't remember, maybe September or thereabouts. Was it September or October? I think it was early October.
Yeah.
I think it must have been early October that
September. Because yeah,
was
like towards
September.
the end of the
I think it was September. I think it was September that we started. And I sold over like 100 copies.
Wow.
Even before, yeah, like 100 copies actually were booked for before the book itself came out. So from the week that it was launched,
So that's really
it was
yeah.
from the week that it was launched, we're just dispatching, and then we started getting the books out into stores. I think now we're in about seven bookstores. Seven bookstores. Then on Amazon as well.
And what would you say has been the main takeaway? Because I know a few people are just joining us. One of the things we've been highlighting or speaking about the story. I mean, you speak about the child bride, and you hear that and think, oh yeah, it's a terrible thing. But one of the things that was highlighted was a particular condition, which I can't say the name, so I won't even try. So I wouldn't even try, but a particular condition that damages young girls that internally, so they can't hold their pee or poop. So it's terrible. And then the book also explored not only the physical effects but also the psychological effects. What does that mean in a village setting when a girl is going through that? What does that mean when she even wants to get into a new relationship if she's no longer in the previous relationship that did the damage to her? What are the effects? So basically it's been an interesting story. So what would you say has been or was a core takeout for you, for your readers, and even for people that have given you feedback? What has been the general buzz about your book?
So I mentioned that the reception for the book has really been amazing. I think people really have a heart for stories that affect girls and women, and they just kind of just latch onto it like, oh, So for the fact that I think the story was, about a child bride, and people that have read the book, their one prominent feedback is that, oh, we didn't even know that there was such a thing as obstetric fistula. But really, this happens to girls, and this is something that still happens. Last month there was this the Fistula Foundation. They gave out, like, they did some free fistula repair surgeries. They had a few in
Also, it can be
in Badon,
repaired.
and
I thought it can be repaired, right?
yes, it can be repaired. Ruby
Yeah,
had
because I
as
didn't finish
repaired,
for
so
manuscript.
yeah, so it can be fixed. So for me, I'm happy that I was able to, get that information out there about. So it's not like the usual, hey, child bride, you hear about child bride and then that's it. But not a lot of people actually take time to think it through, like, okay, what does this imply? What are the implications? Okay, they get married. It's bad. We all know that. Apart from child abuse or the sexual abuse and all of that. So I'm happy that we're able to, from the book has been able to, like, highlight other issues. Like, for instance, Ruby had SAD, which is sexual aversion disorder. Later on in life, she would not want to get intimate with her husband.
Wow. Don't
Because
give all the spoilers. Let people go.
No, I'm not. I'm not just trying to highlight a few. Those kind of things are not what we really cause. We don't think about the psychological effects, on these girls later on in life and everything. So I'm happy that this book has been able to do that. Throw light on those kind of issues that I feel like the subject is not given, like, enough attention, really. And the fact that we can create an awareness, about these things it means a lot to me.
I'm so honored to know you. Like I say, my friend wrote Brimstone and Rainbows. Please don't talk to me. It's beautiful, and I mean, through this process, one of the things I've been able to connect with is your heart, and I feel like everyone that reads this book will also connect with your heart, and Oh, okay, sorry. It's more than it's definitely more than a book. It's a move, and
Yeah,
like,
Niger
just listening to you
Canadian.
now, I'm all emotional because I understand
Thank
there's
you.
just so much going on, especially with young girls, and and it's, I mean, they're not informed. So a bit about, okay, she moved from the village to the city, but then in a village setting they would kick her out because they don't understand that giving her to an adult 40-year-old man can damage her body that way, and and then they pretty much.
Great.
So it's all about education, and maybe even getting more women or even getting more legislators involved in going into the communities to educate people, and not even just the communities, even in our urban cities. Let us know what it
And
is.
it's not enough to be aware, like, how can we be part of the solution?
Exactly.
And that's one message I'm trying to pass across. Like, how can we be a part of the solution? Fine. Maybe in some parts of the country the child age of marriage has been raised, but not in the north, not in the northern part of the country. Mm-hmm. We need to raise the child age of marriage. Exactly. Then how do we even enforce it? Do you understand? Mm-hmm. For people that we enforce this thing, so it's more than just raising an awareness. It's also ensuring that, like, we're part of the solution. We keep educating people and helping the ones that we can help, and one girl at a time.
One girl at a time. Yes, I love it. So we're almost up on time, so I really wanted you to just share quickly what are the top tips in terms of writing. You don't have to go into details, just your top tips on writing. I mean, if you're thinking about becoming an author, you need to go to a school for that, and just general advice for people considering to do their story, to do what you've done, basically.
Okay, so I'm just going to give, like, a few tips. Anybody can learn to write. Not everybody's a good writer, and that should not discourage you. But say, I wish I could write a story. I have a story to write, but I don't think I'm a good writer. Anybody can learn to be a good writer. Anybody can learn to write. So give yourself a chance. Don't give yourself a chance. Do you understand? Basically, I think start from there. Don't say, "Oh, I can't write." Don't close the door on your help me. Say, "Oh, I can't do this because I feel like I'm not a good writer." No, give yourself a chance. Know that you can learn. And then when it comes to writing itself, be sure that your work has a focus, a clarity of purpose. Have a goal in mind. What am I trying to achieve with this? You need to have a goal in mind. Have a clarity of purpose. Have then ensure that your thoughts are clearly organized as well. Have a clear point of view as well. Are you the third person POV, first person POV? Is this book a second person POV? You're writing from whose mind? What are you trying to communicate to your audience? Have your audience in mind as well. What are you trying to communicate to them? Whose point of view do you want them to see? So those are like the little things.
Yes, definitely don't limit creativity.
That's it. Don't limit creativity. Don't limit yourself. If anything, you feel like, oh, you remember I mentioned the other time that get your story out first.
Then it's almost like you then work
Completion over
yourself
perfection.
backwards.
Get your story, then you now work your way backwards. You can get it. That's why you can get a professional editor or someone to just take a look at it for you and help you polish it and all of that. And for people that have like 9 to 5, or people whose excuses are like, oh, I don't have the time and all of that, have a daily writing time. We all can cultivate that habit. It doesn't have to just say, let me write 500 words a day. Let me write 3 paragraphs every day. There's a lot you can do with 365 days. If you're writing just a page which is basically between 250 words and 300 words. You know that a page is like 250 to 300 words. So say I'm going to write 300 words every day. If you do that for 365 days, you would have written a book like that's like maybe 2 times the size of Brimstones and Rainbow. You're going to have like maybe 110,000 word count. I've done that because I have a plan for my writing for next year, so I know that I can give you that figure.
Quickly, you have a plan for next year. I know it might go off soon, so I'm trying to get everything out there. So your next work is what? Is it finally the poetry collections time? Because remember you referenced it.
So the poetry is ready, and yes, I believe it's going to come out sometime next year. There's a plan for that. I'm actually excited about that. So that's going to come out. It's done, but that's not the writing plan. There's a writing plan for something else that's coming out in that'll be published hopefully in 2022. So the writing plan and the work and everything is for next year. The plan is ready.
Then plan for.
I can't wait
have to find a way to make sure this becomes a book. Maybe you can. I mean, sorry, not a book. Brimstone and Rainbows becomes a movie. We can push it into the 2021 calendar. I don't know, is it screenwriters or producers that can turn this? Because, like someone said earlier, that it needs to be played in schools. It needs to be played pretty much everywhere. I mean, I'm sure Netflix is looking for content. We'll give them content. Thank you so much, Ololade, for your time. We can talk for hours, but yeah, Instagram records us off soon.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
It's been great.
Thank you.
Okay, take care. Bye. Thank you to everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for joining. Take care. Have a beautiful afternoon. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you.